In today's fast paced world where demands are constantly increasing and expectations are higher than ever, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, stuck, or unsure about how to reach your full potential. But fear not, this podcast is specifically designed to equip you with the mindset, strategies, and insights needed to excel in every area of your life. Together, we're going to unlock the secrets of high performance and embark on a transformational journey towards living our best life. Let's dive in. All right. Iven Vian, welcome to the show. This is the High Performers Podcast. I'm Alex Alexander. Ivan, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Alex. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on too. We're in a common mastermind together. And so I see you on the group calls all the time. And then I started following you on social media. And now I get a lot of your content, and I've really been enjoying it. So that's why I reached out and I wanted to have you on. So thanks for coming.
Absolutely, man. My pleasure.
Yeah, you've been doing really well. So let's back up, and I have a first question I ask everybody, and that's, what do you tell people when they ask you, what do you do for a living?
That's a great question. What I do for a living is I help make dreams come true. And how I do that is I help people optimize their properties to the maximum effectiveness so that these properties are producing the cash flow that they promise their investors. At the end of the day, if the property that they're performing on is producing cash flow, they're going to be able to actually raise more capital and buy more deals, as well as help out their investor pool of people that they're helping with.
That's awesome. So let's go back and talk about that mindset piece of having the mindset of thinking about your investors and all that kind of stuff. Do you do any work with the folks on that kind of thing?
Specifically, yeah. So I own a portfolio of properties. Over the years now, we've held roughly 3,000 doors in total, but all at the same time. So I have my own investors that I work with on a consistent basis.
Well, let's back up and talk a little bit about that some more. So you do specifically what type of properties?
So I own and operate apartment complexes, typically 100 units or larger. The smallest we've held is about a 50 unit, all the way up to, I think, 250 unit complex. I primarily invest in Class C, Class B value add properties. That means we're buying assets that are maybe has some operational issue with it, with poor property management company or a mom and pop type operation. And additionally, physically, it hasn't been updated. And so we need to add value, physical value to the property to bring it up to market standards so that we can raise the rents and produce higher cash flow as a result.
I love it. That's a real well-worn path to creating value for your investors, right?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. I mean, multifamily is an incredible asset class to be in overall. There's 6 different ways you can earn money in multifamily, 5 ways in single family, and 1/6 additional way in multifamily. The 5 common ways are cash flow, principal pay down, equity capture, capital gains, and tax shelter. Those 5 ways each individually create a return on your investment, which are additive in nature. But what makes multifamily so powerful is the fact that you can force the appreciation of the property by increasing the income stream, because you're capitalizing the value of that income stream, which basically means the more money you make, the more the property is worth. And you're not limited to the comparables in that submarket per se, like you are with a single family. You are to a certain extent. You can't sell it more than a Class B, for example, more or less, but you can definitely improve the value of the property well beyond what other asset classes are doing in that marketplace, because you improve the operation overall, again, both physically and internally with the property.
Yeah. Can you talk about that some more, about how the difference between in a single family and how it's the comps that set the value, and how it's different in commercial properties?
So if we're comparing apples to apples, or another term is like kind, on a single family house, if you take a common, say, 1,000 square foot house, and all the properties in that local submarket are selling for, say, $100,000, and you over rehab your property, and you put the finest of everything in it. You import materials from Italy. You put in gold plated appliances. most likely the value of that property is not going to be greater than $100,000, which is the apples to apples comparison in that submarket. You cannot over rehab and thinking you're going to add additional value. You will be limited by what the other properties are selling for in that submarket. Whereas a multifamily, you increase the value of a property by increasing how much money that property is making, because you're not just buying a piece of real estate, you're buying a business, and that business makes money. And the more efficient you make that business by optimizing your expenses and increasing your income stream, how much money it brings in, the more that business can sell for, just like any other business. So it's a business inside of a piece of property, and you're selling or increasing value in both the business and the property. And that's how you can force the appreciation of an apartment over a single family property.
I love it. Let's get into talking about mindset and how you operate your like lifestyle and business together. And so I want to talk about, because you're a veteran, correct?
Air Force vet, 20 years.
Talk about that a little bit. What was your profession? What was your specialty, and how was it for you?
Absolutely. So I spent 20 years in the Air Force. I always wanted to be a pilot in the Air Force. Achieved my boyhood dream. And but being a pilot, it takes a certain mindset, skill set, heart set as well, if you will. But honestly, there's a limitation to the mindset that I acquired as a pilot in that military arena. And I speak this with all sensitivity because there are a lot of amazing people and incredible, successful, accomplished people that I've served with in the military. But from a financial standpoint, if you think about it, in the military, you're paid a middle class, maybe even less than that, wage at times, based upon how much time, effort, and energy you put into your career. And you're all paid on a salary, not compensated on a commission, paid on a salary. Now, if you get promoted, you can earn additional money, but it's a salary. So truly like service based type work. And it came with a certain mindset. And I didn't see myself as financially successful. I didn't see myself as wealthy. And honestly, when I say these things, I mean it from an internal standpoint, not from an external standpoint. Now, I was letting the external world influence my internal world. And so I had a huge inferiority complex when I entered into the multifamily space. I thought you had to have millions and millions of dollars and come from Wall Street, or, you know, be a trust fund baby. I certainly wasn't any of that. I mean, I came from a family where my parents didn't even graduate high school. I was the first person to graduate high school, and first person to get my undergrad, and first person to get my master's. So I had to like pave the way for my bloodline, if you will. And it took a huge, it was a huge learning process for me to really embody the mindset of what it takes to be not just financially successful, but ultimately all around successful in life. And success is not defined by how much money you make, too, which is the irony of this whole thing. Um, really, success, I guess, comes down to did you fulfill the calling on your life and live it out to its highest and possible use? And for me, that's in this phase of my life. Well, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and um, but I'm also an apartment operator, and I'm truly passionate about helping people learn how to operate their apartment. So that's my calling on my life, vocational calling on my life today. But it was a growing process. I mean, what does this look like? I mean, when you live in this inferiority complex, I would go to these multifamily conferences, and anyone in the multifamily apartment space knows that there's thousands of conferences and meetings and all kinds of stuff throughout the U.S. It's almost weekly, it seems like. And I remember in the early days, I would be so overwhelmed and I would be ridden with so much anxiety. I felt so out of place, like I didn't belong. And I would have to leave the conference and like go down the street and drink a beer just to calm down and really talk myself up to get back in it and realize that this is my place too, like, and really talk myself through it and embody that person that you need to become in order to fulfill the role in which you fulfill in the apartment space, which, we're raising millions and millions of dollars. We're operating these huge multi-million dollar assets. We're creating millions and millions of dollars of our investors. And it's really, then it changed your life. It changes your life as a result. And the dream is real. It's true. I mean, I wanted to be a full-time multifamily apartment investor operator. I owned my own company and business when I retired from the Air Force, and I transformed into a completely different person. Honestly, the story is you can literally, someone listening to this can experience the same for themselves and their family. And it literally does not mean you have to come from money or wealth. You're not. It's a skill set that you can learn, and you have probably more skills than you realize in your corporate career that is directly transferable to the multifamily space. Maybe you're just not aware of it yet. And I had to go on a journey to learn this about not only myself internally, who I truly am, which is an abundant, wealthy individual with unlimited access to unlimited access to an infinite source that I now get to use on a daily basis to affect people's lives in a positive way. So there's that growth process, but then there's also just the skill process of learning how to operate properties. And if you can learn your corporate job, you can learn this business just as easily as well.
Yeah, that's for sure. Hey, how about we get into a case study? And why don't you tell us like one of these properties that you took and did a value add on? And let's talk about like, how about the biggest one? And we'll do like a case study on it. We'll talk through the numbers and how it went, how many years, what the return was, all that kind of stuff.
So I bought a 110 unit property in Oklahoma City in 2018. The first thing that I noticed, there's this huge common space in the common area that wasn't being utilized. And they called it a common area thinking people would come and sit and do whatever. And it wasn't being used. It was about 850 square feet. I decided to turn that space into a 2-bed, 1-bath apartment complex with a washer and dryer hookup, because you get additional revenue when you have a washer and dryer available in your unit. It cost me $35,000 to convert that space into a 2-bed, 1-bath unit, which added roughly $900 or so monthly income. And when you analyze that $900, $8,100, and then you capitalize that, I added $135,000 in value to the property. I spent $35,000, I added $135,000. That's a classic example of forced appreciation. I didn't add $35,000 in value. I added $135,000 in value because I increased the value of the income stream. It was making more money, so it's worth more. And with that property, we had a pro forma that we're going to achieve. I think at the time it was like a $200 rent bump by adding $5,000 to $6,000 of rehab costs per unit. Typically, when you go in rehab properties, you rehab 2/3 of the property, 110 units. So we're going to roughly improve like 96 units or so, right? And so we found that we were able to achieve pro forma rents without even adding any additional physical value. Of course, if it's not functional, we would make it functional. But for example, we thought we had to put in granite countertops, tile backsplash, brand new tile, vinyl plank flooring, all new hardware and fixture, and two-tone paint. In reality, the original paint scheme, if it was in good condition, and the original flooring and countertops and backsplash were just fine. And instead of adding $4,000 to $6,000 per unit, we had to add on average $1,000 per unit. So we had this huge rehab budget that we were able to effectively save 6 times 100, around 60, about 100 grand or a little over that just on rehab cost easily. And again, that was money that went back into our investors' pockets when we ended up selling the property. So that right there is 600 grand. Yeah, 600 grand. Missed a zero there. But that right there is a lot of money, right? And what else? So we effectively were achieved pro forma rents by not having to rehab the property. We added additional unit, and we bought that property in 2018 for $33,000 a door. It was in a rising tide submarket, meaning there is a lot of development, not relatively speaking, in Oklahoma City, like maybe a couple new stores going in versus like Dallas, you had all kinds of stuff going in. But in Oklahoma City, we still saw that the market was improving, that submarket. What we liked about it too is that the owner built it with his own hands and owned it for 33 years prior to us buying it, and took care of it like his only child. And the property manager was, to date, the best property manager I've had And she was very old school in her approach. Did everything on a piece of paper until we had to train her how to, utilize the property management software and stuff. Actually, the property management company did. But what I loved about her is that she lived on site, and she already lived there for 20 years when we took over the property. So she treated it like her own, right? And her delinquency was amazing, like no more than $5, $10, $100 at a time. I mean, come on, that's absolutely outstanding. And so we bought it for $33,000 a door. We held it for 4 years in Oklahoma City, and we sold that for $65,000 a door, easily 2x or so on the property, and made our investors a tremendous amount of money, let alone the tax savings that they were able to implement when we bought that property. So a huge success, huge home run with that property in Oklahoma City.
That's good. And you have current ones now, right?
Oh, no current open offerings, correct? Not at all at this point.
You got any in the pipeline?
We're working to close a deal in Nashville. We've been working on this deal for a long time. I'm here to tell you I'm an apartment operator, but also buying a hotel, 80-unit hotel, or converting into an Airbnb boutique style hotel in Nashville. It's a tremendous opportunity because it's an opportunity zone. You're clearly in the path of progress, all kinds of major developments going on around it, and get in at a very cost-effective basis. We're going to convert it to Airbnb and make it a destination spot, and then in the party town of Nashville, Tennessee. And Tennessee is Tennessee, New Orleans, and Vegas are like the destination spots where everyone goes to have bachelor and bachelorette parties, and that's what we're trying to capture, is that market in the Nashville scene.
How are you marketing that?
Yeah, we already marketed it, and it's just how we market any deal is that was a 506B at first, so we cannot do unsolicited advertisement, but we have our own 506B pool of investors that we marketed towards through email. Any deal we have is we have a full up offering memorandum and a 1 hour webinar, 45 minutes of sharing, and then around 15-20 minutes of question and answering at the end of our webinars.
How long does it usually take you to raise whenever you do a webinar like that?
Yeah, it just depends. I mean, from an investor capital raising standpoint, I mean, these are uncertain times, and investing is all about certainty. And if there's uncertainty, then we have investors who are more hesitant to invest. But we still had a successful raise with this raise, fully raised. So it just depends on the deal and the timing. But I think it was a couple weeks for that when we were fully raised.
Very good. All right. Well, let's I want to make sure I forget. Tell people how they can get in touch with you if anybody wants to reach out with you and get involved in investing in multifamily.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a Facebook group called Apartment Ninja Warriors. Apartment Ninja Warriors. Just go on there and answer a couple questions or so, and you're in the group, and you'll get consistent content from me, focusing on apartment investing and operations.
Very good. And then you have a course as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm passionate about helping people learn how to optimize their properties for maximum value and minimize downside risk, so that they can ultimately raise more capital and buy more deals. So a lot of what I share is given my experience in the apartment arena now after 19 properties and exiting 14, and honestly with my military background experience living in an operational environment for 20 years. I share a lot of my insight, and I have a simple framework of T3R, 3 T's: team, tools, tactics, and then roadmap. You got to build your team, got to have the right tools. You got to know how to navigate using tactics, and then you got to have a roadmap on how to implement your value add strategy overall.
No, that's good. So how do people get in touch with you for that? Is there any specific website, or people get on the phone with you and talk? How's that work?
Yeah, just join the group and send me a DM, and we can set up a call there in Facebook.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So let's, I have a kind of like a final question, and it can go on as long as you want. It can turn into a discussion, but here's the thing. What we're going to do is imagine. So imagine right now, this is it. This is the end for you. Nobody else is ever going to hear from you again. This is a lad podcast, last anything, but by some miracle, this podcast is going out to the entire world. You have the megaphone. Ivan, what is your message to the world?
Never been asked that one, man. Um, what is my question to the world, right? I think my question to the world is, have you really taken the time to know what it is you want for yourself? I have found that the more certainty and clarity you have in your personal dreams, goals, and desires, um, the more you're going to get there. And I think people just have not taken the time to truly understand what it is they want. But what I've found is that if you focus on really not what is you want, but what is your calling in your life, then you will get what you want. So what is your calling, you know? And for me, my calling has always been of service ultimately. So I would say, you know, one thing what I would say is, who are you serving and what are you serving? For me, I literally started with nothing, and how I got to where I am at today is simply by serving. I have this saying, give up. Really, I don't mean to give up, but in order to move up, you have to give. So, where are you giving? And I found that wherever you're giving, it will come back to you many times over in your life.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, Ivan, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
All right. From me, Alex Alexander, and the High Performers Podcast, y'all stay out there and be high performing. Love you guys.